So somebody commented saying I should read some trip reports. Guess I'll do that, or try to. So this is my favorite trip report. Nightmares in Flux, Datura by Jaymz. Took 70 seeds of Datura. Body weight 145 pounds. First of all, I would like to let you all know that this is not a party drug. This is a very powerful, very poisonous plant. It is nothing like, at all like acid, and yes, it can kill you in a variety of ways. I had almost total amnesia after this experience. This report is compiled of things I have remembered over the past 3 years. Kessler and I have both been diagnosed as schizophrenic in the past year. Is it a coincidence? Or did the Datura have something to do with it? One night in early October of 2001, I was house sitting at my friend Cassie's house in downtown Savannah. My friend Kessler was there house sitting too. We were just sitting around, smoking, drinking a little bit. Cassie and her roommates were at a rave in South Carolina. Eventually we fell asleep. The crew arrived home early the next morning. We were sitting around, passing the bone around, talking and stuff. Cassie gave Kessler and I a small bag full of black seeds and crimson liquid. I had no idea what they were, neither did Kessler. Cassie explained to us it was Jimson weed. I still had no idea. Neither of us had ever heard of it. I was a stupid kid, so I didn't even research it. Cassie told me there was enough to make about 5 people trip nuts. Now, Kessler and I were psychonauts, so we thought her definition of tripping nuts was probably a bit different than ours, so we just divided the seeds in half and ate them. I'd say each had about 70 fat, juicy seeds, and we each drank the liquid, whatever that was. I had done acid, ecstasy, AMT, a lot of other stuff at this point, but nothing could prepare me for the world I was about to enter. I guess this would be a good place to explain something. The hallucinations from the Turistramonium are very strong, they're very bizarre, but seem natural. What I mean is everything is very, very odd, but seems real, more real than reality, if that makes any sense to you. Kessler and I waited for about an hour or two and still weren't feeling it. We went to my house and chilled out there for a while. We were starting to feel very tired. We decided to go back to Cassie's house so we could stay up. We got there and we were feeling very drunk by this time, ultra sloshed. Drunker than I have ever been, and I've been pretty drunk. I fell asleep on Cassie's couch. When I awoke, I was feeling even more drunk. I couldn't even stand up. My girlfriend at the time, Beth, drove me home. I don't remember, but she said on the way home I kept taking my lighter out of the dash and trying to hit it like it was a pipe. When I arrived home, that's when it hit me really hard. I went into my bedroom and got online to check my email. Suddenly, I saw a miniature version of myself walk out of my monitor. He sat down on my computer desk and started talking to me. We had a very deep conversation about life, love, and many other things. Then he told me I needed to go get some water. I went to the bathroom and filled a cup up with some water and a bottle cap for my little friend. When I looked in the mirror, it wasn't me that I saw. It was a bloody mess. My face was mutilated beyond recognition. I started washing my face, but the more I washed, the bloodier it seemed to get. After about an hour, the blood just disappeared, and I was able to recognize myself again. I went back to the room, and my little friend was gone. I heard a knock on the front door. As soon as I got back to my room, I went to see who it was, and when I opened the door, I wasn't for a surprise. I think that everybody I've ever known was there, even the people I had forgotten all about. This makes me think that the tour has the power to unlock forgotten memories. I let hundreds of people in. and we all went to my room, which is strange because I had a very small room. But everyone was there. I was talking to and catching up with everyone. People kept on disappearing and reappearing in random places in my room. People also kept dying, decaying, and eventually disappearing. I was worried, but soon forgot all about it. There was also this guy with Chick-fil-A cup as a head. He would keep dying, decaying, and coming back to life. I tried to kick everyone out, but I couldn't seem to get the Chick-fil-A guy to leave. Every time I tried to pick up the bones, they would turn to sand. He would then be reborn from the sand. I was getting really pissed off and quite freaked out. My friend Superman appeared from somewhere and helped me out. He tried to pick up the bones and they turned to sand, so he pulled the broom out from somewhere and swept the guy out from the front door. Superman came back to my room, dragging a large cross. He talked to me as he proceeded to crucify himself. When he was completely hung up on the cross, he started to become very disfigured. He then exploded into ashes. I was horrified. What had happened to my friend? I gathered up the ashes in a dustpan and took them to the kitchen sink. I dumped the ashes into the sink and ran water on them. I knew Superman grew up right out of my sink. He thanked me for bringing him to life and hastily left. I decided to go for a walk. I saw my car in the parking lot and it was wrecked very badly. I was upset. I went over and tried to open the door, but the whole car melted at my touch. When I leaned up against the tree melted. I figured out I had the power to melt things just by touching them. Then I had the idea to touch myself. I did, and nothing happened. I got very lost, and it took me hours to realize that I was just in the parking lot in front of my apartment. I wanted to go back inside, but I couldn't. I had locked the door, and already had melted my keys on accident. The power eventually went away, so I used my ID to try to break into my house. I couldn't do it. I walked away and found my keys back in their solid state. I used my keys to and let myself in. I soon noticed that my ID was missing. I'll explain close to the end. I went to take a shower, and when I got my clothes off, I noticed I had no sexual organs at all. I was freaked out, but I figured there was nothing I could do about this. I got in the shower and started to wash. When I got out of the shower and went back to my room, there was a 7-foot tall totem pole staring at me. The totem pole was my CD tower. We had a conversation, then the strangest thing happened. Time started to slow down, slower and slower until it eventually stopped. Everything around me suspended in time. My cat was frozen, my totem pole was talking to me just a minute ago was now frozen in time, his mouth open mid-sentence. This was very strange. Eventually, time came back. Remember, it all seemed very natural at the time. Beth had come over to check on me. We were sitting there talking for hours, and as we talked, I slowly began to calm down. The phone rang, and I went to pick it up. It was Beth. How was this possible? I looked over at the Beth on my bed, and she began to fade into nothing, waving at me as she went. This was the last major hallucination I had on Datura. About my ID that had come up missing. I was so messed up on the Datura that I was trying to break into the wrong house. The next day, I got a knock at the door. It was the lady who lived in apartment 703. She told me that she had found my ID in her door. I wasn't even going to try to explain. Oh my god. The after effects of this stuff are wicked. I couldn't see anything clearly for about a week. I also felt strange for almost a month. It was like a month-long acid trip. I was having minor hallucinations for weeks. So that's one of my favorite deliriums. Trip reports. There's actually another version of this. I'll read later probably. By the same guy. was basically the same. I think it's the same trip. We just like reworded. Like in this one, like Superman doesn't crucify himself. There's a midget that crucifies the Superman, and there's something about his pocket. And the Tiki guy, the CE tower. Yeah. Well, so that's the video. Thanks for watching and listening, I guess.